Americans have done some truly legendary things. Landed on the moon, invented the cheeseburger, won 2 world wars. But today we're focusing on the other side of American greatness. The absolute geniuses who looked at a 550-pound alligator, a running lawnmower, and a judge's gavel and said, "Yeah, I'm taking that." Smash that subscribe button and drop a comment with the dumbest one you've ever heard. Because by number 49, you're going to question everything you thought you knew about this country. And honestly, you're going to love every second of it. 1. A Florida man looked at a 550-pound live alligator at a wildlife sanctuary and thought, "Yes, this is exactly what my bathtub needs." He somehow loaded this prehistoric nightmare into his vehicle, drove home, and placed it in his tub like it was a rubber duck. Officers knocked on his door and found the alligator sitting there looking genuinely unbothered. The man explained with full confidence that he just wanted a friend. "Sir, a goldfish exists. A dog exists. Literally any other option existed." He was charged, the alligator was removed, the bathtub was probably never used again. 2. Someone walked into a Pennsylvania warehouse at 3 a.m., looked around at everything available, and said, "You know what? The bacon." 300 pounds of raw bacon just disappeared overnight like it had somewhere important to be. No alarms, no broken doors, no greasy footprints leading anywhere useful. Investigators checked every camera and found absolutely nothing. The warehouse manager stood in the empty freezer staring into the void where breakfast used to live. No suspects, no arrests, no bacon. Whoever did this planned it with the focus of a military operation and the priorities of a breakfast buffet. 3. A man in broad daylight walked up to someone's front yard in the middle of a perfectly normal afternoon and just hopped onto their running lawnmower. The owner had gone inside for 1 glass of water. 1. The thief did not panic, did not rush. He casually finished mowing the lawn, like a man with responsibilities, and then simply drove off into the neighborhood never to be seen again. Neighbors watched this happen. Nobody stopped him because honestly he looked like he knew what he was doing. The owner came back outside to a freshly cut lawn and 0 lawnmower. 4. A prosthetic leg got stolen off a sleeping man on a New York City subway, and somehow this sentence only gets worse the longer you think about it. The man woke up mid-ride, looked down, and processed the situation in real time. Someone had carefully removed his prosthetic leg while he slept and just taken it, and he then had to hop on one leg to the next stop to file a police report. Officers wrote this down with straight faces. The leg was never recovered. The thief apparently looked at everything available on that subway car and chose the leg. 5. A Texas convenience store lost an entire working ATM machine at 3 a.m. when someone pulled up with a forklift and dragged it straight out the front entrance. The whole operation took minutes. Surveillance footage captured everything in beautiful detail, including the part where they left the forklift behind in the parking lot. The forklift was also stolen, so they stole a forklift, used it to steal an ATM, then abandoned the forklift like it was a shopping cart. Police recovered the forklift immediately. The ATM and whatever cash was inside it vanished completely. 2 thefts, 1 parking lot, 0 brain cells. 6. A grandmother in California left her ashes in a parked car for approximately 1 hour and came back to find them gone. Not her living grandmother, the ashes. The actual cremated remains of a deceased family member sitting in a container inside a locked vehicle. Someone broke in and took them. The family was devastated. Then 2 days later, the ashes were returned to the doorstep with a handwritten note that said, "My bad. My bad." This person stole human remains, realized what they had done, wrote the most casual apology in recorded history, and left. No name, no explanation. Just my bad. 7. An outdoor concert in Ohio was going smoothly until someone stole the porta potty. Not an empty porta potty sitting unused in a corner. The one that was actively occupied by a person mid-concert who had no idea any of this was happening. Someone hooked it up and moved it 3 entire blocks before the person inside realized the scenery had changed. They emerged confused, disoriented, and 3 blocks from where they started. The thief was never identified. The concert continued. The victim of this crime had a story they will be telling at every family dinner for the rest of their life. 8. A Georgia road crew showed up for work one morning and discovered a concrete traffic barrier had been stolen overnight. This is a large, heavy chunk of concrete that exists specifically to stop vehicles from moving things. Someone looked at it and said, "That is coming with me." They loaded it into a truck in broad daylight while every single witness in the area assumed it was just a normal road crew doing normal road crew things. It was not. Police investigated. Every witness said the same thing. They just looked official. Apparently, all you need to steal government property is a truck and a confident expression. 9. An Idaho antique shop owner arrived at work one morning and discovered that a full-size taxidermied polar bear was missing. Not a small decorative item, not something you slide into a backpack. A giant stuffed polar bear that required a van of furniture dolly and a complete commitment to the worst decision a person can make on a Tuesday. Employees reviewed footage and watched two people maneuver this enormous bear out the front door with zero hesitation, like they were moving furniture. It was found eventually. But the level of planning required to steal a polar bear and still go through with it deserves some kind of award. 10. Someone in Kansas looked at a fully assembled Ferris wheel sitting at a shuttered fairground and decided the reasonable thing to do was steal it piece by piece over 3 nights. Not a garden ornament, not a small carnival game, a Ferris wheel. They disassembled it methodically across 72 hours and then listed every single piece on Craigslist like it was a sectional sofa. People actually bought the parts. Nobody asked questions. The fairground owner arrived and found a concrete pad where an entire ride used to stand. Police tracked several Craigslist listings. Somewhere in Kansas, a man has a Ferris wheel seat in his garage and no regrets. 11. A Florida coastline woke up one morning measurably shorter than it was the night before. Not because of erosion, not because of weather, because someone showed up with equipment and scooped 14 truckloads of beach sand and just drove away with it. 14 trucks of sand? That belonged to a beach. The total value came out to $1.6 million worth of Florida coastline sitting in the back of trucks heading somewhere with a plan. Locals arrived the next morning and noticed the beach looked different. Investigators confirmed the beach was in fact smaller. And someone stole the actual ground Florida stands on, and somehow this is not the weirdest Florida story ever told. 12. An Oregon neighborhood woke up one morning to discover that all 38 of their garden gnomes had vanished overnight without a single trace. Every yard, every gnome, gone. The entire neighborhood was gnome-free by sunrise, and nobody had heard a single thing. Residents were confused and honestly a little personally offended. Then the next morning, every single gnome came back. Returned to their exact spots, each one wearing tiny plastic sunglasses. No note, no explanation, no arrests, no suspects, just 38 gnomes back in their yards, looking cooler than before. Whatever this was, it was clearly planned by someone with vision and far too much free time. 13. An Indiana park opened on a perfectly normal morning, and parents showed up with their kids ready for a fun day outside, only to find a hole in the ground where the slide used to be. Not damaged, not vandalized. Gone. The entire slide, including the pole, the platform, and every single bolt had been removed overnight with what investigators described as actual tools and actual effort. Children stood at the edge of the hole, genuinely processing their emotions. Parents had no explanation. The park department had no leads. Someone spent an entire night disassembling a children's slide and loaded it into a vehicle and left. The hole remained for weeks as a monument to the stupidity. 14. A man was sitting at a Louisiana bar minding his business, enjoying his evening, when someone reached into his shirt pocket and stole his glass eye. His glass eye? It was not cash, it was not a phone. It was a prosthetic eyeball that belongs in one specific location and serves no purpose anywhere else on Earth. The man described discovering the theft as unsettling on multiple levels, which is possibly the most composed reaction a human being has ever had to that sentence. Police filed the report. The glass eye was never recovered. Somewhere out there, a thief opened their hand later that night and had a truly terrible surprise waiting for them. 15. A Nebraska grocery store employee reviewed surveillance footage after discovering that 47 bottles of ranch dressing had been stolen in a single trip, and what they saw was a person operating with complete focus and zero shame. No hesitation. No looking around nervously. Just a methodical person walking through the dressing aisle collecting ranch with the energy of someone fulfilling a life mission. 47 bottles in one trip, ranch dressing specifically, not the expensive stuff, not electronics. Ranch. The store manager watched the footage 3 times and reportedly had no words. No arrest was made. Somewhere in Nebraska, a refrigerator exists that is doing the absolute most. 16. The town of Boring, Oregon is a real place, and their welcome sign was stolen 6 separate times, not once, not twice, 6 times. The town replaced it 5 times with increasing levels of disbelief before eventually giving up entirely and just not having a welcome sign anymore. Each time it was reported. Each time police investigated. Each time it was gone for good. Nobody knows if it was the same person every time or 6 different people who all had the same idea independently, which is somehow even funnier. The town of Boring lost its sign 6 times, and eventually the town decided the sign was the problem. 17. A Colorado family woke up one December morning and discovered that their 9-foot inflatable Christmas T-Rex had been stolen from their front yard overnight. They were upset. They filed a report. They moved on. And then Halloween arrived and the T-Rex came back, returned to the exact same spot in the front yard, fully inflated, wearing a ghost sheet. Whoever took it kept that inflatable dinosaur for 10 months, stored it somewhere, dressed it up for the occasion, delivered it back in the dark, and left without explanation. The family had feelings about this that they could not fully articulate. The T-Rex looked incredible in the ghost sheet. 18. A New Jersey funeral home employee walked outside at 6 a.m. and discovered that the company hearse had been stolen in the night. Police put out alerts immediately. The hearse was found 4 hours later in a Waffle House parking lot, completely unharmed. Officers went inside and found the thief still seated at a table with a grand slam breakfast in front of him, completely unbothered. He had stolen a hearse at 2 a.m., driven it to Waffle House, ordered the largest breakfast on the menu, and just sat there eating. Officers arrested him mid-bite. He did not appear to feel that he had done anything particularly strange. The hearse smelled like syrup. 19. A university cafeteria began losing forks. Not knives, not spoons, not trays. Specifically and exclusively forks. And every single week for an entire semester, someone was systematically removing every fork from the dining hall, and nobody could figure out who or why. Staff replaced them weekly. They disappeared weekly. Security reviewed footage and identified nothing useful. Students ate with spoons for months. The cafeteria manager filed repeated incident reports that all said the same thing. The forks are gone again. Finals came and went. Summer arrived. The forks never returned, and the case was never solved. Somewhere near that university is a person with an absolutely unhinged fork collection and no explanation for any of it. 20. A Virginia mall was full of holiday shoppers doing normal holiday shopping when someone walked into the atrium and stole the entire 20-foot Christmas tree. Decorations still on, star still glowing on top. The mall was open, people were walking past, music was playing. And somehow, in the middle of all of that, a person removed a fully lit 20-foot tree and got it out of the building without a single shopper stopping them. Security reviewed footage in complete silence. Mall management sent a memo that nobody knew how to write. The space where the tree stood remained empty for the rest of the season as a reminder that some people have absolutely no limits. 21. When a San Francisco man stole a city bus, and instead of panicking or hiding, He simply drove the entire scheduled route, every stop. Collected passenger fares correctly. Passengers got on, passengers got off. Nobody noticed anything wrong. The man completed the full route professionally and then abandoned the bus with a cruller sitting neatly on the driver's seat. Transit authorities reviewed everything in disbelief. He had done the job perfectly, just without being hired or paid, or wearing the uniform. The cruller was logged as evidence. 22. A gas station thief grabbed a lottery ticket off the counter in a 10-second window and sprinted to the parking lot to scratch it. The ticket was worth $1.2 million. Instead of leaving immediately like a rational criminal, he stood in the parking lot celebrating, jumping, pumping his fists, full victory dance. The camera caught every second of it in beautiful detail. Officers watched the footage and described it as the easiest arrest they had ever made. He was caught before the celebration fully ended. 23. 12 kids were playing basketball at a Chicago outdoor court when a man walked up with tools and began dismantling the regulation hoop, pole, backboard, net, all of it. The kids watched the entire thing happen in real time. Every single one of them ran home and told their parents. Not one adult believed them. My parents assumed they were exaggerating. Officers arrived later and confirmed the hoop was gone. The kids were right, the adults were wrong. The court remained hoopless for months as proof. 24's a Texas high school band room was broken into overnight, and the thief looked at every available instrument and chose the tuba. Not a trumpet, not a flute, not anything small or remotely portable. The full marching tuba. Enormous, heavy, deeply inconvenient to carry at speed. In surveillance showed the thief running across the parking lot with it, which investigators described as both impressive and deeply confusing. The tuba was never recovered. The band had to perform without it. The thief apparently had very specific taste in crimes. 25. A Detroit City utility inspector was standing 10 feet away from a manhole cover while on a phone call when someone walked up and stole it. The whole operation took under 90 seconds. The inspector did not notice for 4 full minutes. 4 minutes. The cover was gone. The hole was open. The inspector was still on the call. When he finally looked over, he reportedly stood completely still for a long moment before calling it in. The manhole cover was never found. The phone call details were not released. 14 homes in one Ohio neighborhood lost their copper gutters on the same night. Every house, same street, one night. Homeowners woke up completely unaware anything had changed. Nobody discovered the theft until it rained. Then simultaneously across the entire neighborhood, water began pouring directly down the sides of houses with nowhere to go. 14 people stepped outside in the rain, looking upward with the same expression. Police connected the incidents immediately. The copper had already been sold. The neighborhood filed a group insurance claim and shared one collective feeling of disbelief. 27. Someone checked into a Las Vegas hotel and then spent the night unscrewing every single light bulb from an entire hallway. All 84 of them, bagged them, took them, left everything else completely untouched. No damage, no mess, just darkness. Housekeeping discovered it the next morning when the hallway refused to turn on. Management reviewed footage of a person moving methodically down the corridor with a bag and tremendous focus. Nobody understood the motive. The bulbs were standard hotel issue worth almost nothing. The dedication required to unscrew 84 bulbs remains deeply unexplained. 28. A Massachusetts seafood shack had a 6-foot fiberglass decorative lobster bolted outside for years as their signature landmark. One morning, it was gone. Staff assumed it was a prank. It was not a prank. 2 states away at a yard sale, someone had that lobster propped up with a handwritten price tag of $15 on it. And a customer recognized it from a road trip photo and called police. Officers drove 2 states to retrieve a giant fake lobster from a folding table. The seller seemed genuinely surprised this was a problem. 29. A Missouri collector had 300-plus commemorative state spoons representing 47 states displayed in his home. Someone broke in and stole the entire collection, every spoon, except one. The thief took 46 states' worth of spoons and left Idaho behind, just Idaho, sitting there alone on the display rack. Investigators noted this in the official report. The collector was upset about the spoons, but appeared even more personally bothered that Idaho got left behind specifically. No arrests were made. The spoons were never recovered. Idaho remains the only survivor of this crime. 30. A Nevada hotel woke up to discover that every drop of water in their Olympic-sized pool had been drained overnight via pump. His guests arrived at 7 a.m. in swimsuits, ready for a relaxing morning, and found an empty concrete pit. Staff had no explanation. Management found evidence of a pump connection near the drainage valve. Someone had driven to a hotel, set up a pump, drained an entire swimming pool overnight, and left. No water was recovered because that is how water works. The guests were refunded. The pool took 3 days to refill. Nobody understood why. 31. A Tennessee library branch lost 500 books over 2 months, and nobody noticed until a routine inventory check revealed the shelves were basically empty. Staff reviewed records and discovered the books had not been checked out. They had been physically carried out. Investigators looked into it and found the thief had a completely valid library card the entire time. A real member, in good standing, who could have borrowed every book legally. Instead, they chose theft for books, and that were free to borrow. The card was revoked. 32. A bowling league in Ohio had their first place trophy stolen overnight, and the details of this crime make absolutely no sense financially. The trophy was plastic, worth approximately $12. The thief smashed a $200 window to get inside, walked past an open register containing $80 in cash, and took the trophy, just the trophy. Officers wrote this report with visible confusion. The league was more baffled than upset. Whoever did this valued that plastic trophy more than money, and that is somehow the most unhinged part of this entire story. 33. A dentist in Ohio arrived at work one morning and discovered that his entire waiting room had been stolen. Not vandalized, stolen. 18 chairs, 2 side tables, all the magazines, and the fish tank. Gone. The thief, however, had carefully placed the fish in a bucket by the front door so they would survive. Officers noted this detail with genuine confusion. Someone planned a waiting room heist, executed it cleanly, and then showed mercy to the fish. Patients arrived for appointments and stood in an empty room. The fish were the only witnesses. 34. A Georgia high school lost their rooftop HVAC unit during finals week in June. Not September, not winter, June in Georgia. The unit was stolen on the specific week when every student needed it most. Classrooms became unbearable, teachers melted, and students sat through exams sweating through their papers. Investigators recovered the unit eventually, but replacement took days. School officials described the timing as suspicious. Police used the word diabolical in their official report. Whoever planned this either really hated that school or had absolutely no idea what finals week meant. Either way, the timing was masterful. 35. An Illinois police car was stolen from directly outside a donut shop while the officer was inside. The irony of this location was noted immediately by everyone, including the officer. The car was found running in a parking lot 20 minutes later, completely unharmed. A half-eaten cruller was sitting on the passenger seat. The thief had helped themselves to a pastry from a police vehicle that they had just stolen from outside a donut shop. Officers recovered the car and filed the report. The cruller was logged. The officer did not comment on the donut shop detail. 36. A Maine seafood restaurant had a 1,200-pound decorative ship anchor bolted to the ground outside their entrance for years. One morning it was gone, not loosened, not damaged, fully unbolted and removed. Police responded and stood looking at the empty bolts in the ground. Officers noted in their report that removing this anchor required significant commitment and absolutely no shame. The anchor weighed more than most vehicles, someone arrived with tools, unbolted a 1,200-pound anchor, loaded it, and drove away. The restaurant replaced it with a sign. The sign was not stolen. 37. A Missouri Cracker Barrel was completely emptied overnight, but only the gift shop side. The restaurant was untouched. The biscuits were fine, the kitchen was fine. Every table was set for breakfast. But the entire retail store side had been cleaned out completely. Every candle, every rocking chair, every piece of branded merchandise, gone. And staff arrived in the morning to a full restaurant attached to an empty room. Management filed the report. Investigators noted the thief had very specific taste. They wanted the gift shop experience and absolutely nothing to do with the gravy. The biscuits remained unbothered. 38. A Texas stadium lost 500 rolls of toilet paper from a restroom in 2019, before toilet paper became a culturally significant item. Before anyone was panic buying anything. And this was just a person, or persons who looked at 500 rolls of stadium toilet paper and decided it needed to come home with them. Stadium management filed the report straight-faced. Officers investigated a toilet paper theft in a completely normal year when toilet paper meant nothing to anyone. Whoever did this was either extremely prepared or extremely weird. In 2020, they were briefly a genius. 39. A Florida homeowner went to sleep in a house with a full lawn and woke up standing in pure dirt. Overnight, someone had rolled up the entire sod lawn and removed it completely, every strip, nothing left but bare earth. The man stepped outside in his slippers, expecting grass, and found a dirt rectangle where his yard used to be. Neighbors had heard nothing. There were no tire tracks useful enough to follow. Police confirmed the entire lawn had been stolen, and the homeowner stood in the dirt for a long time before calling anyone. His slippers were ruined. 40. A Vermont porch had a jar of homemade pickles sitting out and someone stole them. But this thief had manners. They left a handwritten note that read, "These looked incredible. Sorry." The family found the note and were confused about whether to be angry or flattered. Then exactly 1 week later, the empty jar was returned to the exact same spot on the porch. Empty. Washed. No additional note. And no explanation, just the clean jar sitting there like a library book, returned on time. The family never identified the person. They started making extra pickles just in case. 41. A Denver shopping terminal lost the entire rubber handrail off a moving escalator. Not the escalator, not the steps, just the long rubber handrail running along the top. Someone peeled the full length off and took it. Maintenance discovered the issue 6 days later when a complaint was filed. 6 days. So thousands of people rode that escalator reaching for a handrail that was not there for nearly a week. Security reviewed footage and found a person leaving with what appeared to be an enormous rubber snake. Nobody stopped them. 42. A Philadelphia city park had 11 decorative wrought iron benches spread across its grounds. On a single Tuesday night, every single bench disappeared. Not one, not a few. All 11, gone by Wednesday morning. Joggers arrived at sunrise and found a park with 0 places to sit. Every bench mounting point was cleanly unbolted. No broken concrete, no damage. Just empty ground where 11 benches used to be. Police confirmed this required a truck and a crew and a Tuesday night with absolutely nothing better to do. The park ordered plastic replacements. Nobody was ever charged. 43. A Kentucky church was mid-Sunday service, singing a hymn when the music stopped being the only thing people noticed. The bell was gone. Not the bell tower. Just the bell itself, which someone had climbed up and unbolted from the roof during the week. The congregation reached the part of the hymn where the bell would normally ring and heard nothing. Someone looked up, confirmed the bell was missing. The pastor delivered the rest of the service in stunned silence. Police investigated, and the bell was never recovered. The hymn has felt incomplete ever since. 44. A Baltimore apartment building had 63 units sitting vacant, and someone walked through every single floor and removed every doorknob. interior doors, exterior doors, all 63 units. 63 doorknobs taken with what appeared to be a screwdriver and unlimited patience. Nothing else in the building was touched. No copper pipes, no fixtures, no wiring, just doorknobs. Specifically and exclusively doorknobs. Hunter Property Management discovered it during a routine walkthrough and stood in the hallway surrounded by 63 doors with holes where handles used to be. Police filed the report. The motive remains completely unexplained to this day. 45. In 2022, someone ripped one of America's last remaining working payphones off a wall in New York City. Not a smartphone, not an ATM, a payphone. A device that in 2022 was already a museum piece that somehow still existed. The phone had been generating approximately $4 per month in calls. Someone looked at this relic of 1987, making $4 a month, and decided it needed to be stolen. Officers responded to a payphone theft in the year 2022 with straight faces. The phone was never recovered. The $4 monthly revenue was lost forever. 46. A North Carolina racetrack lost a full NASCAR race car on a trailer between qualifying rounds and the main event. It was parked in the lot, then it was not. And someone hooked up the trailer and drove off with an entire race car in broad daylight during an active race day. Police issued alerts. The car was found later in a field. It had clearly been driven. Someone stole a NASCAR vehicle, took it to a field, drove it around, and left it there. The team missed the main event. The field was torn up considerably. 47. A Virginia minor league baseball stadium finished their season, and crew came back after the offseason to find the entire scoreboard missing. Not damaged, not vandalized. The full LED scoreboard, including every panel, every bracket, and all mounting hardware, had been carefully removed over a single weekend. Clean work, professional-level dismantling. Then Tuesday morning it appeared on eBay listed for sale in parts. Police contacted the seller. The seller seemed surprised this was traceable. The scoreboard was recovered mostly intact. Someone had genuinely believed they could sell a stolen stadium scoreboard on eBay without consequences. 48. An Ohio courtroom was in the middle of active proceedings when the judge called a recess and set his gavel down on the bench. When court resumed, the gavel was gone. Stolen directly off a judge's bench in a courthouse, surrounded by law enforcement. During an actual court session, the judge returned to a gavelless bench and had to announce to the courtroom that someone had stolen the instrument of legal authority while legal proceedings were literally happening around it. Officers filed the report. The irony was officially noted in writing. The gavel was never recovered. 49. A working ATM machine was dragged out of a Texas convenience store at 3 a.m. by someone who showed up with a forklift. The whole operation was captured on camera in perfect detail. They reversed the forklift through the entrance, hooked the ATM, pulled it out completely, and drove away. Then police arrived and found the forklift abandoned in the parking lot. The forklift was also stolen, so this person stole a forklift to steal an ATM and then left the forklift behind like a getaway car they forgot to care about. 2 thefts, 0 brain cells, 1 parking lot, and there you have it. Real people, real crimes, real stupidity. Someone out there actually stole a prosthetic leg, and another person took a whole lawn like grass was going out of style. America never disappoints. If this video made you laugh or question humanity entirely, hit that like button right now and subscribe to BrainFumble because we find this stuff so you never have to. Turn on notifications and share this with someone who needs to feel smarter today. Now tell us down in the comments. Which stolen item do you think was the absolute dumbest and why?